All right. Sweet. This is great. Welcome. My name is Josh Kane, doing the Satsang here on YouTube Live. This was happening on Instagram, and unfortunately, what was taking place was the gram got overloaded and overwhelmed by, oh, this is nice. Now I get the fireplace in here. So the Instagram got overloaded with people. And so the past 3 days, I've been trying to go live and it hasn't been working. So what I've done is I've started a Zoom group, but then in the Zoom group, I have all the recordings that I then have to go and I have to upload all of that afterwards. So I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to do YouTube anyways. Let me just figure out how to get this going. And then that way all the videos and all the content for the satsang can be archived live as this happens. So this is something that I've been wanting to do for years that's happening right now. So I'm giving myself a little bit of a pat on the back and I'm saying thank you to this crazy disaster that's happening, because it is causing some amazing things to happen. Like personally in my life, this might not be a big deal to some people, but to me, to be streaming on YouTube right now is like a big deal. So just going to allow myself to have this moment of, yeah, awesome, it's done. And I'm imagining that's Claudine out there. So hello, glad you made it. This is kind of like, for those of you who are tuning in after the live cast, this is kind of like my typical setup. Make a fire. And I have the Bhagavad Gita here. And for the past 3 weeks, since all this stuff really started happening in Connecticut, that's where I'm at. I'm in New Haven, Connecticut. Since all this stuff started happening, I began stepping into my practice in a different way. I'm a yoga teacher and a musician, and I study Bhakti Yoga. I train with a guy named Raghunath Kapo at Super Soul Yoga in Chatham, New York. And Raghunath really, through the Bhakti Yoga practice, instilled this love for, I already had it in a lot of ways for a lot of other things, but he instilled this love for the yoga texts and the yoga scriptures. And the Bhagavad Gita in particular is something that really resonated with me. So for a long time, I've been wanting to, inspired by him, because he has a wonderful podcast called Wisdom of the Sages. And how that podcast started was, it started as a satsang where from 5 to 6 a.m., he would wake up and he would start a Zoom group. This was before, this is like 2 years ago. It was before all this catastrophe and stuff. And he started a Zoom group and I was part of that Zoom group. And there would be times where I'd actually be there in person and, be part of the satsang in person, because Chatham, New York is not that far from where I live in Connecticut. And so he would read the Srimad Bhagavatam every day from 5 to 6 a.m., almost every day when he wasn't teaching. And I would tune in and I would get, for an hour in the morning, I would get to listen to this, amazing teacher talk about this sacred literature and drop in these beautiful stories from, one of the most epic yoga texts of all time. Literally, of all time. The Srimad Bhagavatam is this epic discourse on how to live and, what are the essences of the, practice of yoga and transcendental consciousness, Krishna consciousness. But it's very long and it's tough to get through a lot of it. And the Gita, however, is a little bit more approachable. It's a little bit more practical. It's an excerpt from a long story called the Mahabharata. And in the Mahabharata, what you had was a story about a great war that took place a long time ago in Bharat, which is India. And the more I study the Gita and the Mahabharata, the more I'm learning that it seems like in history, what's been happening is karma, or what I would say the divine plan that is like life and death, cause and effect, action, reaction. That whole divine plan has this specific order to it. And the order of the divine plan is taking us through to these different checkpoints in life, leads us through these different checkpoints. And one of the checkpoints that we get led to, right, they're through all different faiths. One of the checkpoints that we get led to is this conversation in the Bhagavad Gita that happens between Krishna and Arjuna. And the laws of cause and effect that start this chain of events to happen is so that a historical moment arrives where divinity itself, personified, gets to come down, enter into our reality. You could say come down because it's kind of referred to as like that, the Supreme lives up and above the heavenly realms. Somebody else is here. Check in and say hi if you're tuning in. Welcome. These checkpoints are when divinity enters into a human form or a perceivable form to teach a lesson. And it's a documented lesson. And we have so many of these throughout history that we write our sacred books about, and we keep our sacred wisdom and our spiritual wisdom. And it's all revolving around these moments where divinity arrives for us to give us a lesson, to give us a teaching. And the Gita is one of those times, one of those very rare, very special times in history where God's plan is to line itself up. Divinity in the form of Krishna aligns himself with this warrior named Arjuna and stages this whole battle through this crazy series of events, just so that at the heart of the matter, where the two armies are facing each other, getting ready to do battle to see who is going to take control of this kingdom. And there's been death, and there's been betrayal, and there's been exile leading up to all this, and all these amazing, terrible things happen. And it leads all to this one moment where for about an hour and a half, God in a human form is having this divine conversation with a pure-hearted warrior about what is the practice of yoga. How do you remain steady, and how do you remain committed and focused on making the right choice in life? A choice that's based on, your dharma or your mission, your truth, your purpose in life. And what we have been doing is, as a group here and now, is we've been reading this story so that we ourselves, in this moment in time, with this present situation that we're dealing with, that we learn how to see this as a divine moment, as a divine circumstance, that this event, this global event, is part of the same process that's been happening for eons and eons of time, which is that through karma, through cause and effect, the divine plan lays out a series of events of ups and downs to start teaching people lessons and guiding them and preparing them for what is going to end up being the return of divinity. And if we're paying attention, then we can document that experience. And part of that documentation right now, in a way, is this. Is this taking this time to say that we as in whoever's like me and whoever's watching this video right now, are collectively partaking in what we hope to be an evolution of the species through struggle. That we make the choice, because it's all about choices. And in the Bhagavad Gita, what's happening is that Arjuna, the warrior, has to make a choice. And we have to make a choice. And his choice and our choice are the same, because he was a human and we're human. And what God is pointing out is that the choice is in your perception. It's in your intellect. that you make this choice, this leap from being part of material sensory bondage, of seeing the temporary as eternal, and then switching your mindset to ignore the temporary. You know that it's there, but you don't lock into it because you're only focused on the eternal. You're only focused on the fact that, you know what? Whatever the material existence is showing me right now, it's all part of a greater plan that's going to lead to some higher realization. And I can start elevating my vibration. I can start elevating my consciousness right now with that very thought, with that very choice to say, even though I can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. Even though I can't directly point at, the good things that are coming from this, they're there. And like the more you start to look, the more you start to see them. Like all over social media, there's people that are discovering each other in entirely new ways. People that are really learning how to talk and really learning how to listen. Because they have to. Because it has to go through this whole medium, which most people have been saying for a long time. I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not good at technology. Well, you better get good at technology because technology is what we've got right now. So everyone is being forced to step their learning curve up and get with the program that if you want to stay connected, if you want to communicate with people, this is how you got to do it. You got to figure out a way. Otherwise, you're not documenting any of this experience and you're not able to keep up with even your livelihood and your lifestyle. And then that's like, you're back in survival mode. You're back in the ego fight or flight state. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. You want to be right here. You want to be able to look at this and say, you know what? There's something good happening here. And this is giving me an opportunity to grow, to learn, to develop, to be more humble, to really, really practice finding gratitude, acceptance, surrender, and maybe to even find new teachers, to find new places where you can gather new information. And I really hope that this will be one of those places where you can start coming back to and, learning about this, not only the timeless art of yoga and these beautiful texts, which have so much wisdom and so much embedded knowledge in every single word, because it's coming from divinity, from the mouth of divinity. Every word is so intentional. And it's specifically designed so that you can understand this spiritual science of yoga, the spiritual science of being a human. So, I really do hope that we can, over time, grow through this experience and grow together. And hopefully what you're able to harvest from some of this learning and from some of this wisdom is that we collectively have a choice. We have a choice in how we're going to interact and engage with our consciousness to create the type of experience that we want to have, which can either be, honestly, it can be heaven or hell. This could be the most heavenly experience, the most heavenly time that you are alive ever in your mind and your body, or it can be a hell in your mind, a hell of anxiety, a hell of what ifs, a hell of consequence. And consequence is good. Responsibility is good because they're linked to dharma. They're linked to truth. That was the other thing I was going to say. Not only do I hope that you get connected with the spiritual teachings, but the essence of the teaching, especially this teaching, is find your truth. Go into your heart. Find God within your heart. Listen for that voice that tells you what your truth is and what your path is. And then get on that train and go. And learn how to make that choice for yourself. Try to see that there's good in the messages that are being sent to you through your thoughts and through your emotions. That they're not just trying to limit you. They're not just trying to shut you down. They're trying to teach you something. What you think and how you feel is trying to teach you something about your heart's deepest desire, your heart's deepest calling. And through this time and through this knowledge and through something like this of what we're doing here, you can learn how to tap into that eternal innate wisdom that divine spark of creativity within you, and take your life down a different path, down your own unique path. And it will be wrought with mistakes. It will be wrought with failures and successes and challenges and pitfalls, all kinds of things. And you might not make it. You might not make it to that result of feeling. What is the result? What is the result of all that? It's that you feel good about your life. Whatever religion you practice, whatever society, whatever faith you belong to, the whole goal of any of this stuff is to feel good and to feel like you're connected to something that's greater than yourself, that wants the best for you, that wants you to experience joy, it wants you to experience love, it wants you to experience all the ups and downs of being a human, and to feel good about it, to feel joy and bliss, surrender, compassion, all of that. The divine wants you to feel all of that. And I hope that you find it. And it might take some time, and sometimes you gotta read through this stuff over and over and over again and listen to it and have conversation about it and talk to different, sorry, I'm yawning so much. Talk to different people and get different perspectives, because the way that I read this is I try to make it as neutral as possible. I try to remove the he, which is dominant. It's patriarchal. So, because Krishna's a man, and it's often referred to, there you go. Mention Krishna and boom, the fire pops up. So I try to make it very neutral. I try to make it so that, it can be applicable to our modern time without taking away from gender or race or culture or anything like that. So where we are at right now in the text is we're just getting into chapter 11, which, I'm going to go back. I think I'm going to go back again and, and start from the top. I'll do it at some point, whether I do it now with the Gita, or I do it later after maybe bringing in another text, just to keep it fresh for the people that have been the person, I guess, that's been checking in with this. But we're going to get through the rest of the Gita, moving from chapter 11, which is the universal form. And by the way, you can download your own copy of this book on vedabase.com. I'm going to put that in the comments. Go to vedabase.com and you download your own copy of the text. And why don't we do a little, before we get into the text, actually, let's do a little chanting. I'm just so excited. I'm like shifting the whole order of my satsang here. But typically the way that, the satsang is run is that there's a little introduction like I just did. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. Here's kind of what it's all about. And then play a little music. And it's not just any music. We're trying to sing, about transcendence, singing holy names. We're trying to keep this conversation elevated, keep our minds and our hearts pure. And, it might not always be pure throughout the day. And especially at this time right now where I'm filming this, where we're going live, which is, 9:00 at night, we're in the mode of ignorance right now, where we're starting to get a little slow, starting to get a little low. Maybe now that I can go live, I'm just having like a verbal dialogue right now with myself. But maybe now that we can go live, we'll start doing it in the morning. I think that's doing it in the morning now is going to make it. It's going to be nice. Yeah, it's going to be nice. So let's do a little chanting because we're here now, and this will help to elevate our consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, that feels good to be back. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Om. Hare Om. All right. Namaste. Yeah. Cool. Look at that. Making it happen, kids. Making it happen. Satsang lives on. Hearts and minds The more you get to know me, the more you will see I can be a little bit of a cheese ball at times. But it's all because I really love spirituality. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a spiritual person. Ooh, I do think there is something wrong with letting your fire get untended. Shoot. I need a producer. Dang it. I need a spiritual producer. Come in and help me out with all this stuff. But then I would get what I want. I'd be like, I do it myself. The producer would be like, what do you need me here for? I don't know. All right. I lost my one viewer with my side tangent. Okay, here we go. Chapter 11. Normally that's bankruptcy, but here it's the start of something completely amazing and beautiful. All right, so once again, conversation between divinity in human form, or in personal form, which is Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, and a great warrior named Arjuna. Chapter 11, the universal form. Verse 1. Arjuna said, I have heard your instruction on confidential spiritual matters, which you have so kindly delivered unto me, and my illusion is now gone. So this is the student acknowledging to the teacher, saying, I heard what you said. You have just delivered to me some really, really heavy knowledge, this confidential spiritual knowledge, which no one has ever really been able to hear before. That's what, this is not something that happens all the time, where divinity comes into personal form to be able to teach and mentor and lay down in history. This is the way that it's supposed to be done. This is not Bob's spirituality right now, just kind of piecemealing together. This is coming from the source. This is the guy that taught the sun yoga, right? The actual sun, the God of the sun. The thing that rises and falls throughout our daily lives. We have a daily life because in our day is defined by our sun. It's kind of a big deal that was his first student. And what the students learn from divinity is the spiritual science of yoga. How to be steady amidst change. And the steadiness depends on two things. One, your connection to your heart and your purpose. And the consistency, number two, the consistency with which you can keep that connection, detaching from the results, detaching from outcomes, saying all I got to do is stay connected to divinity and live my purpose, and everything is going to fall into place. Right? It's a conscious, consistent relationship with yourself and the divinity within yourself, which exists at all times in your heart. And that's written in here. Which he's saying, you have so kindly delivered unto me, and my illusion is now gone. So before, Arjuna was in the illusion about seeing the material world as something that he had control over. He was thinking, if I go and I engage in this battle, I am killing these people. I am killing people that I love and that are dear to me. And what Krishna clarifies is, you're not killing anyone. They're already dead. You didn't make them, so you don't kill them. They exist according to my plan. They unexist and they cease to exist according to my plan. You are here as a warrior according to my plan to enact judgment in a religious war. It's a war for religious principles. And you have a job to do. So just do your job. Don't question it. Don't be in doubt. Don't suffer in doubt. You're too good for that. You're too good of a person. You're too good of a warrior for that. Just be the warrior. Fight the fight. I got you. I got you is what he's saying. I got you. I take care of it. If you don't do it now, I'm going to do it later. So it's your choice. But if you don't do it now, you have to live the rest of your life knowing that you backed out of making the right choice right now, which is to fight this battle. And that's the key in understanding this system, in understanding the right and wrong of this system, is that we're given our body and we're given our thoughts and our emotions to help guide us, to help compass us towards making right decisions that feel good and avoiding wrong decisions that don't feel good. And the discernment, the subtle discernment really starts to happen when you realize that certain right choices are really hard to make, and it feels like the choice that you don't want to make, and it's really difficult, and you go, I just want to avoid having to do this. I know it's the right thing, but I just don't want to do it because of what it means, like what I have to let go of, or what I have to admit to, or what I have to confront. And the wrong choice actually seems like the easier one, the one that's going to bring more happiness, is to kind of avoid and deny making that right decision, right? And stepping into your truth or your dharma or onto your path. But the pitfall of that and the crux of that is that if you go with that temporary relief of making the wrong choice in that decision and avoiding your responsibility, afterwards you're going to suffer because your conscience is going to know that you could have done it a different way. And it's going to keep presenting you. Divinity will just keep presenting you with opportunities to step into that power, to step into that awareness and make the right choice. Because what happens is when you deal with the hardship, the real vulnerability and the real responsibility of taking that step through that initial pain of doing the right thing, even though it's difficult, on the other side, you're rewarded for your vulnerability. You're rewarded for your courage. You're rewarded for honoring your heart and speaking your truth. Even if the reward is just to be able to have the truth released from yourself, that you're not carrying the burden of that anymore. Even if nobody understands it, even if nobody gets it, you still did the right thing. You know in your heart you did the right thing. You can't attach to whether people are going to get it or not. And they might understand it in 5 minutes or 5 years. It's not up to you. What's up to you is to do the right thing, to honor your heart, honor your vision. And then after that's done, it's like you see that you were in illusion, thinking just like Arjuna, your illusion is gone because you see that on the other side of doing that hard thing, doing the right thing pays off, whereas the wrong thing leaves you in hell, leaves you in the hell of your regret, the hell of your doubts, and you just don't need to be there. This is where, all right, let's move on. Little part of the purport is Krishna is speaking to Arjuna for his benefit. And so Arjuna acknowledges that all this is happening to him by Krishna's grace, right? So Krishna is deciding to do this. But what we also have to see with our divine sight, and we're going to get into divine sight here in a little bit, what we have to be able to see with our divine sight is that this is part of the plan. It's part of the plan that this knowledge be revealed to us now through this story as it was revealed to Arjuna back then when it was happening, to remind us God lives within you. Divinity lives within you. Take yourself out of the state of ignorance and doubt and fear and just embody that divinity that exists within you. And then you can do no wrong. Right? It's not a free-for-all because you have to do the right thing, but you're able to discern what is right and what is wrong. And you have the strength, you have the fortitude to be able to do it because you know that God is on your side and it will always pay off. It's pretty cool. Verse 2, still Arjuna talking. O lotus-eyed one. That's a beautiful way of addressing your guru, to say something, to give them a beautiful, compare them to something beautiful and wonderful. O lotus-eyed one. I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity as realized within the nature of your inexhaustible glories. O greatest of all beings, O supreme form, though I see here before me your actual position, I yet wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I wish to see that form of yours. So this is Arjuna. This is Arjuna making a bold move right now. Right? Arjuna is kind of in a way saying, if you did all this and you control all this, and I believe it's true, want to see it. I want to see the actual form of you that is not just what's existing right here before me as this physical person that I'm seeing, but let me see your divine cosmic form. I've heard about it. I've heard of it through the Vedas and through these sages. I've heard of the divine cosmic form, the super soul. Show me that, right? This is a brave and incredible, like it's like he knows exactly the right questions so that we can actually get the cosmic form revealed to us too. Verse 4. If you think I am able to see your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that universal self. Here's something interesting with the purport. The purport is commentary by the author, Swami Prabhupada, who is the Bhakti legend. The purport is, it is said that no one can see, hear, understand, or perceive the Supreme Lord Krishna by material research. But if one is engaged in loving transcendental service to the Lord, then one can see the Lord by revelation. Every living entity is only a spiritual spark. Therefore, it is not possible to see or to understand the Supreme Lord. Arjuna, as a devotee, does not depend on his speculative strength. He admits his inability, acknowledging his position. So he admits that he's in a lower position. He admits that he's human, that he's got limits. He could understand that for a living entity, it is not possible to understand the unlimited infinite. If the infinite reveals himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the mercy of the infinite. The name Yogeshvara, master of all mystic power, is also very significant because the Lord has inconceivable power. If he likes, he can reveal himself, although he is unlimited by his grace. Therefore, Arjuna pleads for the inconceivable grace of Krishna. He did not give Krishna orders. Krishna is not obliged to reveal himself to anyone unless one surrenders fully in Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service. So this revelation is not possible for persons who depend on the strength of their mental speculations. Now this is the author demonstrating the strength of his own belief in this as a religious doctrine. You don't have to take it as a religious doctrine. You could take it as really, 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 really awesome advice. You don't have to try to achieve Krishna consciousness. You don't have to become a pure devotee. Sometimes it seems like especially with this, unless one surrenders fully into Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service, man, it's like you're not going to really get the best unless you devote yourself completely. I don't necessarily believe that because I don't devote myself completely, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of amazing wisdom out of it. I'll sing devotional songs, and I'll engage in transcendental conversation, and I love to teach yoga. But there's a part of me that is a little bit more worldly than that, where I can't just fully commit myself entirely to one system of thought because I don't feel like I fit into just one system of thought. I'm a little bit hip hop, I'm a little bit R&B, I'm a little bit funk, I'm a little bit soul, I'm a little bit rock and roll, I'm a little bit easy listening, and classical, jazz, funk, and swing. I might have already said funk twice, but funk is really good. So the point is that I think that this text, even though people religify it a lot, and it is about religious principles because it's stuff that you live by consistently that's related to divinity, so that's religion. But this is not the religion of man that's being prescribed here. This is the word of divinity. This is the word of a divine personality coming to you to say, you can live your life better as a human if you want to. you don't have to call it like anything. But what you could make it Bob's spirituality. If you want to call Krishna Bob, I think that you could, because technically any Bob or any Joe or any Dana or any Melissa or Claudine, whatever it is, that's God. That's the spark, just like anything else. We happen to call it Krishna here. And, you could say that Krishna or, Rachel or John, whatever you want to call it, is here as a teacher to help you out, to give you knowledge that can help destroy your ignorance about what's real and what's not real. And that's valuable. You can go right back to, reading the Bible or doing whatever. I mean, I think it gets kind of difficult to a certain point, because like even last night, like I did the Passover Seder with my family last night, and I heard them reading through the story of the Exodus of, the Jews from Egypt and all that stuff, the slaying the firstborn, the plagues and all that. And I was listening to it and I was like, I kind of prefer the Bhagavad Gita. It just feels like all of this story just has such a preference for the Jews, preference for the people of Egypt, whereas as like the people of Egypt as being the evil ones, and the Jews being the holy ones, and here that's present. Good and evil is present in the two sides of the army, where Arjuna and the Pandavas, they're the pure ones, and Duryodhan and his 100 sons, they're considered the wicked ones, the material ones. So there is good versus evil. But it's different in terms of this conversation. I personally, the more I read this conversation, the more I see it, the more I'm like, this is like one of the purest forms of divinity that I think that we were ever able to experience as a species, because of the way that the knowledge is just so clearly laid out. It's kind of hard to deny it. It just seems like every other religion kind of has like this ulterior motive of like pulling you in to the fold, to become that religion, to imbibe and live that religion fully and completely. And even though that's the commentary in this, is why I avoid the commentary a lot of times, because I'm not trying to make you think that I'm trying to pull you into a religion of Krishna or of Krishna consciousness. But I do want you to be a yogi. I do want you to be an elevated, ascended human master. And I don't know that you can ascend without the yoga, without being able to sit and meditate, without being able to control your mind, to exercise mindfulness, to know the difference between truth and everything else, the eternal and everything else. That's huge. It's huge in terms of evolution. And we have the time now, so we might as well study it, right? So, verse 5, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine forms, multicolored like the sea. So he's agreeing. Krishna's agreeing to show it to him. Verse 6, O best of the Bharatas. Bharatas is like Indians. See here the different manifestations of Dityas, Rudras, and all the demigods. Behold the many things which none has ever seen or heard before. This is like first time, premier event happening. Universal divine form coming down, live, revealing itself. Never happened before. It's kind of amazing. Whatever you want to see, verse 7, whatever you want to see can be seen in this body all at once. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you may want in the future. Everything is here completely. But you cannot see me, verse 8, you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes so that you can behold my mystic opulence. So you can't see me with your present eyes. So the eyes that, when he says present, he's choosing this word specifically, because the eyes that Arjuna has are his senses. They're connected to his human material senses, which are a tool for his consciousness to perceive reality in this present moment. Right? So right now I'm using my eyes to perceive the computer, to perceive the book, to perceive the fire and the house, the sound of my voice, the guitar. These are all things here in the present. They're not transcendental, they're temporary. So I have to be given, if Arjuna is going to see Krishna's mystic opulence, he has to be removed from the present. He has to be drawn out from time, from time and from space, because he's literally going to see infinity in front of him. He's going to get to see everything that there is inside of one body all at one time. And what happens is truly amazing. So he's given divine eyes. The spirit goggles have now been put on Arjuna. This is big. Verse 9. Sanjaya said, O king, speaking thus, and Sanjaya is the narrator in the king's court, in King Dhritarashtra's court, who is narrating this story through divine sight, through his own divine sight, to see what's happening and relay it back to this king who wants to know what's going to happen in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. What happens with the two armies that are about to face off against each other? We knew this was coming. We knew the Pandavas were going to return from their exile. They were going to try to fulfill their promise of saying, I'll drink your blood and I'm going to strip you limb from limb. I mean, the Pandavas, when they were exiled at the beginning of the Mahabharata, and they had to watch their wife Draupadi almost get disrobed, if it wasn't from the grace of Krishna, like dragged by her hair into this courtroom, and like watching their older brother Yudhisthira like gamble away their own lives and their whole kingdom. Oh man, they made some serious oaths. Each one of the 5 Pandavas made a serious oath to come back and destroy the Kauravas for what they did. Destroy them. And now this is that time where the destruction is upon them. And just before it's happening, Arjuna is getting the greatest gift that any man could ever get, that any human could ever get, which is the divine sight to see everything all as one. Speaking thus, the Supreme, the Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared all over his body. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. This was seen by Arjuna. So at first, it's very beautiful. At first, what he's seeing, it's like unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes. He's seeing that the world of the senses resides within Krishna, resides within the cosmic form. Smells, right? And colors. I mean, it's all very beautiful at first within him. 12. If hundreds of thousands of suns rose at once into the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. 13. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. So, all of the nations that exist on Earth right now, the countries and the states, they're all existing on planet Earth. So even though there's a separation between the states and there's a separation between people, we're all existing in this one Earth together. There are many planets circling in the solar system. We got about 10 minutes left. There are many planets that are circling in the solar system that are all part of our Milky Way, our one galaxy. And then the many multitudes of galaxies that are present within our one universe. Right? You could go cosmic with it, but then you can go more, you can go macro with it, or you can go micro with it. So the shell and the earth and the temple of my body is split up into different parts: my skin, my bones, my joints, my cartilage, my tissue, my flesh, my hair, and all of the elements, the 5 elements that exist within me, that it going down to that smallest atomic cellular level, it seems like there's separation, but within this oneness, does it kind of make sense? We think that it's separation, but it's the collective of parts that merge together into one in harmony and have relationship with each other, divine harmonious relationship that makes it so that this body can stay in place and it doesn't just melt and wither and fall apart. There's a life force congealing your body into place, keeping it fixed as one, made of many parts that work in a divine cosmic harmony. It's amazing. It's amazing. Your body is such a miracle. Say thank you. Verse 14. At that time, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see in your body all the demigods and different kinds of living entities assembled together. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and many sages and divine snakes." So now he's starting to see into different realms. He's starting to see, like, you hear about Brahma prayed to, but unless you've been granted a boon, or unless you've been given some sort of like divine gift, or some sort of pass by a sage or a holy man, you don't get to see Brahma. You don't get to see Shiva. You don't get to see, like, and if you do see them, you see them in a form that they want you to see. You don't get to see them in like their cosmic, like Brahma sitting on the lotus flower. You don't get to see that. That's like insane. O Lord of the universe, verse 16, I see in your universal body many, many forms, arms, bellies, mouths, eyes, expanded without limit. There is no end, there is no beginning, and there is no middle to all of this. So even though Krishna is the beginning and the middle and the end, what Arjuna is now getting to see as part of all of this is that there is no beginning, middle, and end. There is no spoon, as it were. What you have here is you have infinity and eternity embodied into a timeless, eternal moment where in time, but in divine time, the warrior is observing everything, seeing everything. And he's starting to realize we're not worthy. We're not worthy. He folds his palms together and start praying obeisances like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, this is amazing. This is like the fact that I can see this right now. You're doing me a huge favor. And I just want you to know I appreciate this so much. Everything you're showing me, I appreciate so much. But he's starting to get terrified. Your form is 17. Your form is very hard to see on account of its glowing effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the best in all the universes. When he says that, you are the best in all the universes, it's that what makes anything good in any universe, anything that you could look at and perceive as goodness, is Krishna. the essence. You are the best in all the universes, the best within. Not that he's the top, that he's number one. I mean, he is, but it's you also have to see it from that other perspective, that all that is also within that universe that is manifested by the cosmic form is also the best. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of religion, the eternal personality of Godhead. 19. You are the origin, without beginning, middle, or end. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are among your great, unlimited eyes. By your own radiance, you are heating this entire universe. 20. Although you are one, you are spread throughout the sky and the planets and in all space between. O great one, as I see this terrible form, all the planetary systems are perplexed. All the demigods surrender unto you, entering into you. Very much afraid, with folded hands, they are praying the Vedic hymns. The different manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadyas, and the Vishvadevas, the two Ashvins, the Maruts, the forefathers, and the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, Asuras, and all perfected demigods are seeing you in wonder. So, in this moment, what's also kind of being revealed is that because the demigods and all of those beings that were just named, they have they're in closer connection with divinity. So they're tapped into the oneness of Krishna at all times. And what Arjuna is saying, that because he can see everything with this divine sight, that he's also seeing that the others in the universes that have divine sight as well, they're getting to see it also. It's being revealed. It's like the bat signal. Like Krishna just sent out the bat signal to the universe where every single person can turn, and not person, but like these divine entities, good or bad, can turn and look and go, wow, I am inside God and I'm getting to see what I'm inside of. And everything else that is inside here with me. And this is freaking amazing. I'm terrified to see it because it's just overwhelming. It's completely overwhelming. We've got 2 minutes left. Almighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are perturbed at seeing your many faces, eyes, arms, bellies, and legs, and your terrible teeth. See, now it's starting to get scary. And as they are perturbed, so am I. O all-pervading Vishnu, Mahavishnu, I am unable to keep the equilibrium of my mind. Seeing your radiant color filling the skies and seeing your mouths and eyes, I am afraid. O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious towards me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. I am bewildered in all directions. So, at the beginning, what he was seeing was very beautiful, very peaceful, and very loving. And then what starts to happen is because Krishna is also is the good and the bad. He's the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer all in one. When you look into the essence of the cosmic form of Krishna, you're going to see all the scariest, most terrifying things too. You're going to see vampires and werewolves. You're going to see sharks, and you're going to see the demons, and you're going to see all of that staring back at you. And your health, your spiritual and emotional health, depends on whether or not you can integrate that negative into the positive, see it as a benefit for yourself, and see it as a way for you to step into your power and step into your grace. Right? We're going to pick back up with getting through chapter 11 more tomorrow. I'll post on my Instagram. Go to instagram.com/thedrumyogi. And let me know if you decide to tune in, if you check this out, if you have any questions. And you can also stay tuned there for updates on what's going to be happening. I'll also be trying to update through videos on this page of what's going to happen. for the satsang moving forward for the rest of the month and the rest of the year. So enjoy. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at and what time you're watching this. And thank you so much for tuning in and being part of this, transcendental conversation. We're so lucky to have the Bhagavad Gita. We're so lucky to have the food, water, and shelter and the support that we have from each other, our families, and our friends. And let's just be thankful to technology as well for making it possible for us to connect during these uncertain times where normally we would feel very isolated. And here, even though it's kind of like I'm talking to myself, we are together and we are one. So thank you to this body. Thank you to this space. Thank you to all of our teachers, and thank you to the practice of yoga, bowing to ourselves and to each other. Thank you for sharing your practice with me tonight, and thank you for letting me serve you. Aho, namaste, word up. See you soon.